Because if anything is possible, then it can happen for me, it can happen for you, it can happen for anyone on this earth. If it's our first time meeting, my name is Michael Esguerra. I'm the founder of MB Learning, and on this channel, I usually share personal development tips, tricks, and how-tos. But in this series, I share my journey of having a positive, meaningful conversation with 500 people. On this day, I spoke with two people. I spoke with my cousin Jason in the morning or in the afternoon, and I spoke with my friend Ali, aka my boy Ali, in the evening. So my cousin Jason was the first person that I formally spoke to on this journey. My cousin Alan and his wife Stacy, we just started the conversation. I think I was over at their place helping them out with something, and then we just fell into a deep conversation like we normally do. But Jason was the first one that I had intentionally called up or texted and asked him to hang out and have a deep, meaningful conversation with me. So we got together and we ended up going for lunch, grabbing some Vietnamese food, which was delicious, by the way. I guess, before I get into what we spoke about, Jason and I were about 6 months apart in terms of age, and I always refer to him as my twin brother from another mother. We're cousins, but I consider him a brother because we grew up together. We spent a lot of time together. We even lived together in high school and went to high school together. We went to WrestleMania 32 in 2016 with his brother Jason and our cousin Arnold. In 2013, we studied meta learning together. We learned jiu-jitsu together. That's a long way to say that we're very close. I was very grateful to have this conversation with him. We got together and I told him, hey man, so this year my goal is to have a positive, meaningful conversation with 500 people. And he just kind of gave me this look which is kind of the look that a majority of people gave me when I told them what my goal was, because it just seems like such a stretch goal, and like, why would somebody want to even set a goal like that? Well, apparently I would. But even though he may have thought it was kind of strange, he didn't do anything to discourage me or anything like that. He asked really good questions. And the conversation was really around SMART goals. So we just kind of ran it through the SMART goals. I won't go into specifics about what a SMART goal is and how to write one, etc. I actually made a video, which I'll link up here, that goes into details about SMART goals. But he just asked the questions, is it specific? It is specific to have a positive, meaningful conversation with 500 people by the end of the year. Was it measurable? Yes, it is. Was it attainable? That one was kind of questionable. I'll come back to that one. Was it relevant? Yes, it was definitely relevant. It was tied directly to wanting to overcome social anxiety and to become better at conversing with people. And those skills are linked to my business, so it was very relevant. And was it time-bound? It absolutely was time-bound. I wanted to accomplish the goal by the end of the year, by the end of 2019. But attainable was the one that, he kind of questioned. Like 500 people seemed like a lot of people to him. But for some reason, for me, it seemed attainable, which is important, and I'll explain why in a bit. But we kind of broke down the numbers. He asked, why 500? Why not 100, or why not 1,000? Why 500? And for me, it was a lot of people, but it was just within reach for me. And that's kind of how you want to write goals. You want them to challenge you, but you also want it to be just within reach. Belief plays a big part in achieving your goals. So if there's a shadow of a doubt that you will not achieve your goal, well, you probably will not achieve your goal. And that's why attainable is very important, because if you don't believe that it's attainable, chances are you're not going to achieve the goal. But if you wholeheartedly believe, yes, this is absolutely achievable, yes, it's going to be a challenge. Yes, it's going to be, there's going to be a lot of hard work to be put into this to achieve this goal, but it's still attainable, then, there's a high chance that you'll be able to achieve that goal if you wholeheartedly believe that you will achieve the goal. So we kind of broke it down. Is it attainable? Okay, so 500, why 500? Actually, I chose 500 because there was a post that I saw at the end of 2018 where a health and fitness coach posted that they worked with 238 clients. And I thought, well, I could probably have a conversation with that many people. In fact, I could probably have a conversation with double that amount. So I just rounded it up to 500 people. So we ended up breaking down the goal. How many people would I need to speak to daily if I were to achieve this goal of having a positive, meaningful conversation with 500 people? And we broke it down. It ended up being a little less than 2 people a day, which sounds totally achievable. And that's if I was, pursuing this goal 5 days a week for the rest of the year, considering I took a couple of days off for rest. So less than 2 people sounds very achievable, but the challenge was that I didn't have 2 people that I can book time with every single day. So what I walked away with from the conversation was to break down the goal and like how many people would I need to speak to each month, each week, each day. And so after that conversation, I created a projection chart of how many people I would need to speak to. And that kind of brought a little bit more clarity to my goal. Yes, 2 people a day sounds achievable, but I actually question if I even had 500 people that I could reach out to see if they would be open to having a conversation. And it wasn't just like a 5-minute conversation. Like these had to be deep, meaningful conversations, like at least an hour with someone, just really, I wanted to say, really getting to know them. Part of it was getting to know them, but just wherever the conversation went, like whatever it is that they wanted to speak about. I'm pretty sure there's some people that I spoke to that I met for the first time, and I got to know them a little bit, but then I also just got to know just the way that they think and their perspective on things and their perspective on life. But that's the main takeaway that I had after speaking with Jason. Then later that evening, I had a phone call with my boy Ali, and I can't even remember why we hopped on. I think we were setting up plans for the weekend or something like that, and then we just got into a deep conversation, and then I told him about my goal, and I said, this conversation that we're having just really fits my goal of having a positive, meaningful conversation with 500 people. And so he was on board, and we continued the conversation. And one of the main messages that I took away from that conversation was to be very forward thinking with what I'm doing. And I'm usually a very forward thinker. Like I'll, set goals 5 years in advance, and I'll consider, 20, 25, 50 years from now, sometimes 100 years from now. But he was talking thousands of years from now, 2,000. I'm like, wow, dude, I'd be surprised if I could reach 20 people, let alone, the words that I'm saying right now lasting 2,000 years. But I think he was right. I should be thinking that, like the information that I have to share is powerful, and I would want it to last thousands of years. And not to say that it's my message. I'm just collecting all this great information and trying to share it with anyone who wants to listen and accept it. A lot of the ideas that I have aren't necessarily my original ideas. Some of them are, at least I think they are, but a lot of them are information that I learned from people in the personal development space, or a scientist, or a spiritual guru. But I now would say that those are probably a majority of what I say, what I teach people, what I talk to people about. And a very small percentage are connections that I made on my own. And usually those connections that I make on my own are influenced by what I learned from the other people in the personal development space and spiritual gurus, etc. That being said, that was a really good message for me, just to think longer term. Like, it's great to think in the present moment, 100%. In fact, that's the only moment that matters, is now. But also you can look forward into the future and, make a goal for 5 years, project out 10 years, project out 50 years, 100 years, and consider what you do today could last thousands of years. Because if anything is possible, if that is true, then that means that whatever it is that I say or you say or anyone says can last thousands of years, if anything is possible. And if that's true, then it can happen for me, it can happen for you, it can happen for anyone on this earth. So that's what Ollie and I spoke about, and I'm grateful for the message that he had. And I'm grateful for the conversation that I had with my cousin Jason, aka B-Boy Stalls. I appreciate you. I appreciate you both. Thank you for being open to the conversation, and thank you for sharing the valuable message that you had to share with me. And that's it for me. I wish you all nothing but peace, love, and joy. Take care.